Passacaglia XI. I shall forever linger in this sleep, from day to day in one unending dream. For such is life to me. The sun's great beam shines on me always, and the ocean's deep roars when I rest and wake, which makes life seem eternal visions. And the squirrel's leap is timeless as vast evolutions sweep from age to age in universal stream. Imagination and reality, religion, art and love are all the same, one huge conception of some deity, a deity without an earthly name, whom let me serve with blind fidelity, that I may comprehend the perfect frame. This would be the beginning of despair, at wondering where to begin in a world obliterated into the obscure. Then I imagined a man before Homer, the man who began the road, who looked at the stars, saying, "These are the names of the children. These are the children. These are the names. These are the names of the first poet." He said, "These are the children." I said, "Let me be the first poet at the end of the last, catching up the progress of knowledge as an innocent hand picks flowers and makes a delightful posy scattered in the end on the smoking bonfire. And there shall be a wonderful silence as among the hard cones of neglected slag heaps. This is where the first poet begins, the first line after the end of the last, where there is no possibility of beginning, and succeeds because he has said, "I will be the first poet at the end of the last day." And Vincent said, from England, "Our earlier life might be compared with sailing on a river, but very soon the waves become higher, the wind more violent. We are at sea almost before we are aware of it. And the prayer from the heart riseth to God. Protect me, O God, for my bark is so small and thy sea so great." The heart of man is very much like the sea. It has its storms, its tide, and its depth, and it has its pearls too. The heart that seeks God and a godly life has more storms than any other. Rome is far away, but in the air are inklings of the 11th hour. M. Book of Madness. The Son of Man said, "This is the mania of waves on long shores, the crazed wind in high trees, when birds leave their eyries to cry from the air. Marlowe, I love better not to sing in this similitude, not to be commanded as I am. I love better when waves are calm on long shores, and the wind caresses the boughs of high trees. Son of man, birds leave high trees and cry from the air. I am the birds crying, sons of men crying. In your hands dwells the world. The man said, I no longer care for the world. Son of man, that is a mania of old age. The man said, I do not care for age. I am one in whom age dwelleth not. The Son of Man cursed God. You are old, and I am young, and to be young is best. I'll climb the hill of heaven and build my castle on the crest. I'm the king of the castle, and you're the dirty rascal. Sun, hacking the earth, scratched at his eyes. The bark of the ground cracks at the sun's axe till the wounds dry white in unrestricted tattoo at the nerve ends. Earth pulsed without blood in that mordant acre, derelict amid wilderness ruins where he saw an eye, black as a pond, glittering at the coming of a solitary lamp along tunnels of mines. And the second time, the Son of Man cursed God. You are a poor wayfaring stranger, a-travelling through the world of woe, and only sickness, toil, and danger blight that world to which you go. And a voice whispered, triumphant in you is a man of love, living now in the crass mind of a man who loves better morrow to condemn the world. Why do you annul the rock of your nature, erode in the swirling eddies of wayward tides? And the third time, the Son of Man cursed God. I'll travel far beyond your sight, towards the darkening west. Your way to the east is the way to war. My way forwards towards peace is best. And there was war in heaven, and the angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought against the angels, and prevailed not. Neither was his place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon that was cast out was called the devil, which deceiveth the whole world, and he was cast out into the earth, dashed to the sand, as a man self-driven death dives from a cliff. The Son of Man, annulling the rock of his nature, rocked his whole soul and his senses run mad before the phalanx of the wind in the plunge from the crag. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut to the ground, which did weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thy heart, I will ascend unto heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. Dashed to the sand, tears forced from his pores, his blood evaporating, battering at his eyes like acid, as if to rip the lids from his eyes, grafting the dry scarlet flesh into the thirsting strata of stones, till he was chained to the clashing ground in the midst of this schist ice in the waste, as the voice of the hill shuddered away, and dust of the wilderness whined in his veins, and adged at the lining of his brain, till assent began to grind away his will. I will do anything. Give me anesthetic. No. The patient has to say how much it hurts. I will operate for as long as you can stand. Suddenly opened my eyes, found gargoyle ground, staring eyes close to my own, flaming like red cleagues, and the holy paramedic Lucifer, the son of man, in a gurgling mania of laughter, brandished bronze tongs and crooned, Now, my child, which is the tooth, it will not hurt. Then drilled all my teeth to the roots and through to the jaw, then drew them brutally one by one out without anesthetic, then drilled the bleeding gums with his shrieking drill, then thrust the drill at my eyes, then 40 days. The voice said, it was like this in the old days. You must know what it was like in the old days. It was like this, pristine in the old days. You must be taught that it was pristine. It was. 40 days. Not anymore. I promise not to move or cry out. Not even when I begin to draw raw marrow from your bones. They say there is no agony more harrowing. Harrow me in whatever hell you have to, but Marlow, I had rather remain unchosen among men. Save them rather than myself fall with them. I cherish life more than the death of all men. And in doing this, I shall achieve one great deed of love. I have loved. You, whoever you are, have said that. I have loved. It is true, and the love is proven. Son of man, as a god you shall fall, as Lucifer, son of the morning, fell. It was as a god that you loved. No, not as a god I loved them, but as a man. As a man still shall I swell the score, and as a man love the world. Nijinsky, in a Petrushkan mania, scrawled, I am a madman who loves mankind. My madness is my love towards mankind. The man said, in loving thus I shall attain renown throughout the lands of the world. Then there shall be no more to own. Adoration is, in the end, to possess. I shall love all, and all I love shall be mine. Son of man, as a god you shall fall. In a voice rising from the streamless land, out of a chaotic mound of speaking stones to hang in the caverns of his ears. As a god you shall fall, and the lustre of exalted acts is lost in the lust of pride, and prestige diminishes, and so in lands shall your esteem wane when you crave the stars of God. Pull down thy vanity. It is not man-made courage, or made order, or made grace. Pull down thy vanity, I say, pull down. Learn of the green world what can be thy place. The Son of Man sang, Marlow, I had rather see the blossom of an apple tree, had rather be an enemy hanging from a ship's cross tree. I had rather not do this. Please, may I not do this? I am not whom you found. The wrong world mistook the god, the nation, the man. Son of man, there is only one, but he is not I. Son of man, what of the pearl? Aye, the pearl. I have followed it through valleys and over hills, have seen it shining at horizons. But when I come to where it shines, like a rainbow, it has moved away and beckons afar off. Still I follow the pearl. Take it from my eyes. Once I loved a bird, a pearl, and followed it through the eyes I loved. But you let it not abide, and the joys of love go by, and still the pearl shines and beckons with a smile. Now I am far from home, far from people I know, and still the pearl shines, but now it is no joy. Let it die. let it die in the sun at sundown, and let me alone. I had rather sleep Marlow, but in my sleep the pearl is an apple in Eden. In a dream we remember after the waking. Too clearly I remember the dream of the pearl. Where shall I go then? Rise into the mountains. I will lift mine eyes unto the hills, whence cometh my help. Who are you, whom I am? Seek not to know, for whom I am you shall become. I am visible to all minds, though multitudes thrust me aside, visible always to your mind, you the first, though not the last, in eons I am to enlist. Are you God? Son of man, you are a man born in the realms of men. Hebrews rough as innocent wood, cut from the pristine forest and lain in desolate yards. Jehovah is tradition's God. You are not sculpted to the satisfaction of tradition, nor darkened by the heat of his land, or by the furnace of the creed. The road of Zechariah is not yours, nor you a priest inspired by Jehovah, or any of his preposterous breed, far from the causeways of love. None the less, Son of Man, you shall have to conform in name, saying, I am the servant, the promised king. Hebrews will not hear you unharnessed to the Hebrew creeds, for they still cling to the crumbling embers of a dwindling persuasion ingrained in the Moses of their mind. I shall fashion you a name and a form, unchained to creed or realm or norm. And my name is not Jehovah. I am not of this world. I am God. I am God. I am God. The man said, whom you are, I shall become. Nijinsky said, people will say that Nijinsky pretends to be mad on account of his bad deeds. Bad deeds are terrible, and I hate them, and do not want to commit any bad deeds. I made mistakes before because I did not understand God. I felt him abides, but I did not understand God. I know not. Every person has feeling, but they do not understand what it is. The world was made by God. Man was made by God. It is impossible for man to understand God. I am both God and man. I am flesh, but I do not come from flesh. God made flesh. I am God. I am God. I am God. The Son of Man heard rituals of infamous cults in bleak worlds, and these words drummed into his mind. Oh, see not ye yon narrow road, so thick beset with thorns and briars? That is the path of righteousness, though after it but few inquires. And see not ye that braid road that lies across yon lily Lebanon? That is the path of wickedness, though some call it the road to heaven. And see not ye that bonny road which winds about the ferny brae? That is the road to fair Elfland, where you and I this night moon die. N. Book of Nihility. For 40 days and 40 nights he waded through red blood to the knee, and he saw neither sun nor moon, but heard the roaring of the sea. In a blue boat, in wine dark sea, a man in white, holding a line slanting into deep water, glittering like night when night is full of stars, drew up numbers of shining white stones, turned into loaves as laid on the bare boards, many hands clutching at the bones of the boat, and the man, smiling, filled them with bread, and the world kissed his mouth. The man said, I am God. I am God. I am God. And the sea decayed and curdled into mire, and the boat a clot of vein dark blood amid it. Men's hands moved under the heaving dross, voices under it, blue lips mouthing with mud, and white spears shot from the steel sky, lancing the furnace brains of the man. Darkness rose, a vapour from the sands, left when swiftly the fen evaporated. Pillars rose from the clinkered ground. The man rose up upon them, and the temple strode beneath him. And a voice whispered, fall down along between the vast spans of the nave and aisles. For I say, I am Archos Pandios. Fall under the arched halls of stone to outshine its keening God. The man cried, these gaudy halls cannot contain my thundering soul, which strides down the star roads, nor can the frail drums of human ears contain the monumental song that roars from my soul's lungs. There is nothing here as huge, not in the cries or designs, as far as the furthest well of the world's end, to fulfill the expounding of my mind. Only brains built of radiant beams gathered from beyond the cosmos can comprehend my soul's infinitude. A white bird, soaring against wind and clouds, looked down on the faces of men, at the wonder in men's eyes, and the white bird smiled and flew away to visit worlds under the lee of stars. The man said, I am God. I am God. I am God. And the bird, as a white stone, fell into dark, unground regions, cold chasms where the sun cannot ever bend the basalt doors. Noise died, and someone held the man by the hand. They together, winding into ravines, strange birds yelping above the gorge, malignant ravens ensconced in grey walls. They together came to a plateau. They heard cold gnawing the dead stones. And Lilith said, move your hands, and behold all worlds moving, all manner of worlds in your hands dwell. And the man moved one finger, and lands moved, mountains opened, seas were seen to explode, forests sank below the sea lines, and behold, hosts of white birds. Then the half-man, half-woman, half-mad fawn foamed at the mouth, and mounting a virgin lamb, he and she screamed, I am Anax Algolagnia, and scorched with the scarlet pain of the lust, the beast cringed and shuddered with excess. And the man cried, I am God, I am God, I am God. And when this Basilios and Drogunos gazed up at the sun, the stars froze into white dwarfs, hailing a black rain of scree on the harpy's back, that as mere feather drops she shrugged off. What is your name? The man cried, the name of all worlds. I am God. I am God. I am God. What is your name? I am God. What is your name? I am... What is your name? God. her fiercely inhaled gold-tipped Russian black took aim at the optic of his right eye. What is your name? Praktos. Your name? I am... Name? Known. Name? Nemo. Name? Nisun. Nihility. Passacaglia XII. The metronome stands silent. Waves break on the shore. Somehow I told her that I would go down to her tomb and lay the body on its side, though this was unknown in any country. Oh, Book of Odes. The Son of Man fell into a dream, ambrotos, a kind undying on his side in the sand. Who are you? A glass blower, Son of Man. I shape beautiful forms from the whistling sands, flasks, perfect as the wine of clear air, filled with the idea of the wind. Listen, I fashion an urn of glass, stands in the wilderness, and the wind eternally blows, coining, singing odes at its virgin lips until the glass is sand again. Is it true that love is better than wine? In this midnight I hold a maiden's gaze, and love sings. In this midnight, the shining of a youth's eyes, love sings deep within this thirsty mind. Get thee behind me, Satan. Youth and maiden, children of God. Ode to the children. Oh, may I bear the brunt of their burden before they bear it. Why bear burdens in my breast? Why, for beauty I bear burdens, For beauty's well-being willingly I bear burdens, well, willingly, if my will may work it. Who are these fair children singing, shining light about me from their eyes, aspiring far into the blue heavens of this ruined world? I rise and sing amidst them, but they do not hear me, for I am to them unknown, and my words are here only the sounds. No kin of mankind is so fair, nor in land are children's as these, dear to my heart, and fairer than hills, fairer than all seas of earth, fairer than song in mountain realms, fairer than fields of flowers, woods and streams. Such children shall not come again, belong to fair child Edens of former times, sons who crept dumb from the sea and sang. Dark years have befallen the world, wherein these children alone shine, days of their youth bright in the gloom. It has been my joy to hear their song, these and they, O my son, Johanan, thou art my son, know that. And these shall not become less fair, though they shall fall in dark ways, they shall reign always in their dear land, nor shall they die from that land. Oh, but there must be a tomb to the tender mornings of man. Once all men were these children, fair in their original years, these now a remnant of that glorious time, long gone from the eyes of men. We may lean our eyes to the heavens, yearning for God beyond the walls of their garden, but there is no way to find him therein that we know of. It is through the fair things of earth that we must seek to go into the ways of God. And there is nothing fair in the world, save only these children, who therein do lead me the way to God. And I shall not stray from that path, for they shall not leave my mind in sleep or in times of awakening. These, they are my children, and those others, they are all my own kindred. They have passed over the hills of my time, and in my time I may not hope to find again children so fair, not in times of awakening, nor in dreams. Madalena, maiden, forgiving and forgiven, thou art the mother of this kindred, I the forgiven father. O my son, and Johanan, the forgiving son, there is no more. no more need. The Father, Mother, and the Son, all children, and God is my child. I have seen all the golden of my breed. I have loved, and all I have loved are my children. I need seek no more among lands. I have found what I seek. O heaven, I have found the child. And the Son of Man awoke, a living man, wakened to put death to sleep. Alone in the wilderness, and he sang, not in the roads of slumber. I have seen and known my entire kindred shall never be, yet is. I have resolved the way I may go. Ode on the birds of love. From ground I am grown as a daring little gull of seas of God's world, whom I am till the sun drowns, not in horizons of world plains, rather in seas of stars I lose. All this for that I have adored, though I'm beaten in this human siege. But in me love shall not diminish, is the beam among builders of hills. Now, in all the days of our age, though we build in single stones, not ever a slowing down of zeal. Love's heaven is the dwelling of sound, wherein springs up the living mind, lodges in limbs and veins of man, wherefrom these winged aerials pioneer to adorn trees that have no frond, and inhabit the souls of brute beings that are not wise to love. Smile shone in the countenance of the man, eyes rang with the joy of resolve, brow calmed as calmed waves dreaming of storms. And the Son of Man strode firm. God took his hand and led him from the craving ash of that eremos of dust and arid fields. Ode on the death of the Baptist. Morning, fast winding, a zero-muted day, shot forth its shrieking seeds of light, like gorse pods bursting in a sandy waste, and counted out staccato each zinc-white hour, as the gods' chariot in flame-throwing haste swept like an imperial gold-leafed bird across the sky, its unerring power still unhearable, still unheard, the strident star howl snarled its way into the deadly shades of the barn of night. And yet again, the godless Lucifer of morn thrust out its blooded gargoyle-headed darts like cluster missiles exploding in the dawn, and played slow motion in a long-lasting flare to wake up the dark rooms of men's hearts, and rugged tidings cried through the beating air. As the Son of Man strode through the granite fields, wails sprang through his hair and stung his eyes. His hands held out before him like steel shields to ward off the stealth-winged terror in the cries which struck his brain like a rust-red iron goad. The soles of his feet scorched in his tattered shoes by sparks of danger spiked off the flint road. As Jordan thundered the tolling news, the Baptist is no more. And the man wept at the terrible headline whistling across the sands, the defeated ribs and empty surrendering hands. O Yochanan, shipmate of our early ocean waves, I hear the dirge of your doomsday in the sighing scrolls of the wind, and in Jordan's crying, you lying maimed in an unknown city of graves. And oh, now sorely my grief-stricken soul craves for my first found friend, whose father's God planted heaven in the tender heart of a child. O Yochanan, my brother, in whose firm steps I trod, my guide to goodness, gone from the wind-swept wild. And so, as the saddened Son of Man trudged home, Israel slowly appeared through the heat. But Nazareth heard a resolution in his feet, more gentle than the sandaled tread of Rome. He heard the voice of his inner mind repeat serene words like fair weather waves and foam. Lost are the leaden moods of kings when ground yields in name of joy. Then alien fields spring into song to invade dominions that are dark, and to adorn minds that are dim. Easily may I enchant fallen men, though I shall not, when they dream, still of the old roads in bleak woods. In the railway yard of the great city, a child sat alone in a waiting train, and a man walked by with a slender, long-handled hammer in its hand. Who are you, old man? I am a wheel tapper, my child. I tap the wheels with my hammer, and if the metal rings true, I know the steel has no flaw, and the train is safe for long journeys. But don't be afraid, my child. these wheels ring true as death. But who knows, at the next stop along the line, another man like me may tap the wheels and find a flaw. The Son of Man said, but I shall not condemn men if they have no will to come away from bleak woods. For love of humankind shall now be the maestro of my leadership of men. And so the man came home into Galileas. All the remembered landmarks plucked at the tender nerve of the old child within him, and drew out anew loved things from his memory's urn. Ode to Israel. And he cried, O Israel, wherein thrive these filled fields, how I cherish all your chosen plains, dear land of Hebrews. But now you are not the land of Jehovah, that name now no longer as of old. The embers of its creed mingle with the whistling sands, and the urn of glass erodes in the indifferent wind. Israel, by God's command, is to be torn from its fractured kiln and half unfired, forced to stand alone on the world's edge, void of its sires and pride of a father's line. Dearer to me now than ever to any man, I cling these plains to my soul's kernel, and know we who are even now ancestors shall not fade, holders of noble fields under the star of God, which shall endure through duration of eons, held high on the loving sword of his kingdom, till man no longer holds sway in his world. Oh, it is strange now, but it seems that this modern world is already old, out of fashion even now with itself each infant day. I have created nothing good in this world, but so is my inclination as I return now, that I may not of my own free will shun the praise that invincibly springs from a new sense in me of wisdom awaking. And I shall not ever renounce this land love, though not only love now as for a land of Jews, no, now as a lord of all islands, Lord of the long lands, Lord of all seas. This is a parable of lands, to adorn regions of world. This dear land, a bright beacon among dark hills of great kingdoms, that heave under the burdens of desire, and spread grim over vast sheets of earth. These veins shall run their wine far down over the untouched pages of the world. O Palestine, that have endured the dark years which have dimmed so often your climbing suns, what glory shall your kins engender among men when the love of God generates in their minds. I have become holy in your singing hills, and now may begin to kern wonderlands. Now I know what it is, God limbs. Now I know what it is that abides. Now I again come into my homeland. And homes of Galilee came before his eyes, dwellings of earth, white in the constant day, shimmering all alive with human denizens, women and children careworn and carefree, men tending their oxen, lambs and fields, pallets of life bright in the dying plains. And the man said, as I stand here, it seems that all the sounds of this land rise and merge into a soaring anthem, to ring bell golden in the minds of men, and high in buildings, in cities of this earth, the sun slanting down this morning on the land, men hear the mingled song of humankind. A voice shrieks into the combined sound, then drumming comes in the constant turning of turbines and street wheels, in the chimings of the world's hours, or iron clanging in far-off shipyards. He said, these sounds stream together and become an unexcelled chorale in my ears. These and numbers more of unseen nations, of soaring birds, not of earth, but of other worlds, abroad in unknown fields, sounds of waves that are born from alien seas, of trees and hills that sing in northern lands. And he in the north, who could not hear, not in earshot, but from the heart of his own oratorio solemnis of mingled sounds, woven by him and God together, cried, oh, it is so beautiful to live 1,000 times. Passacaglia XIII. So, as he came back among men, himself a man, the Son of Man remembered Rome, crying, I do not fear the shuddering ground. Nazareth battered at his mind, digging up corpses of the past, a living yard of graves, and men gazed at his eyes, saying, what is your name? My name is, I am the son of Joseph. And he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up, and prophet hovered in the mouths of the multitude. Isaiah sprang up from the scrolls and dashed from lip to lip in whispers. Listen, O isles, unto me, and hearken, ye peoples from far. The Lord hath called me from the womb, and he said to me, Thou art my servant. Sweat bled from the city's limbs, cries stuck in the heat of the air, no word articulate, only the howls. The king comes, the king cometh. Only the unschooled gutturals of men, as Nazareth tore at the jackal in them, and Rome cocked a cautious ear, a purple ghost in heat haze far off. The Son of Man stood amidst Nazareth, seas of humanity, waves of men, breaking unwittingly on the siren coast, waves fisted like breakers on fitful days, when gusts hook at their blue-green flesh, tossed ultramarine till hissed into a foam panache at their shattered edges, when their brief life soars and is dashed down to gliding extinction. P. Book of Pearls. A single note sounded in the mind, and the Son of Man imagined that a gentle shepherd lifts his reed to rose-red lips and plays a dulcet bird and pearls of dew. What shall my note be? My soul burns with a longing to find the one pearl that will endure. To my people it would be as if they given a gift. But will they welcome him if he comes among them? It is not so with us. Went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day and stood up for to read. And the man said, Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God, and everyone that loveth is born of God, and knoweth God. Murmuring and naysaying, Nazareth rose up to leave the synagogue. But the man stopped them with a cry. I heard a cry in the day, but night came. Out of that night came a great silence. I know Rome covets nations, our Israel, but I'm no disciple of war, have no will to temper the steel of Caesar's Kremlin West, nor mandate to raise the siege of Israel. But siege rose in the mind of Nazareth, shout struck and abruptly halted the fall of the sun, which stared wide-eyed at the multitude, beholding the Son of Man in their midst, as they cursed him and killed their messianic hope. This is no king of promised kingdoms. And the Son of Man heard the voice of a dying man speaking within him. As I emerged from the desert, devoid of the character forced upon me by the stares of men, The walls of the town were ready to enclose me in their embrace. The men of the town were waiting to compel me to play the part they had fixed for me in their minds. And the play is the thing in which I found the image of myself. I was no more than molten wax poured into the mould of manners. And Nazareth's skulls bled with black intentions. Death came a schooner from their dark brainstorms and poisoned the waters, as with fixed eyes the Nazareth rabble with blind hands reaching down searched the ground for ammunition and finding stones, rocks, hailed down their flint rain upon his head. Snow melts and torrents burst, roaring out of the ruptured sides of mountains, and fire follows, and the floods boil and scald the hands and lips of the man. Dull acid in a bronze urn in a cold country, clouds, dark clouds and inconsistent winds, rain, and the chloric rains burn my skull. The rind of my skull crumbles open, my brain writhes in the blaze of the dry sun, my brain withers above the rim of my eyes, and my eyes have died. They considered me a block of granite, and Satan the sculptor came. I saw his hammer and chisel carve the rock of my skull till the blade broke through into my brain, and still he hammered down and in, far down into the corries of the mind. I flounder in the grey, suffocating surf of a ruined brain. My skull is a shattered pearl. I am drowning in the dust of white hills, an avatar of whom I am, in grey robes, ghost walks down a bleak lane, grim light, surreal, forms of purple, white and black. Dark is my way, in dark ways I dwell, in dim dominions, a lamp I move, no lamp to illuminate men's hearts, save a lantern of the coughing fen, beckons wandering men to ruin. It is not men, it is I who err. It is I to presume them fallen. Who am I to deliver alien precepts to ears hallowed by ancient creed? I may not do this, not because I may not or cannot prise open the locked ostracion, but because tradition has so calcified those clamped shells, their fossil brains cannot uncode the given law to foster new pearls for the changing times. Like the cedars of Lebanon, cannot bend like the willows of the brook. Pine, song cho, bamboo, zhu, chiku, plum, May by. 3 friends of winter. These are the meanders of a swoon, a heightless realm where the sky is rock and the ground is shallows without end. Lowlands, lowlands, away, my friend, is none, is alone, is beginning and end and ending, is dying, my friend. Talk to me in my dying, is no warm room, my friend, is a dying world. The wheels, my child, they found a flaw in the metal of them. Friend, where is this world has laid a dark upon my eyes? Ben Adam, son of man. And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face toward the mountains of Israel, and prophesy against them. The end is come upon the 4 corners of the land. Ben Adam, son of man, remember also the quietudes, and in the meanders of the swoon, the Son of Man murmured the quietudes. Bright is the beam upon dark ways when love shines down desolate roads. For then pearls rise from known dungeons, wherein they languished, long unremembered, their lustre lost when dark reigned. Pearls rise from known dungeons when love shines. The pearl rises. The Son of Man sprang up from under the stallion feet, became fire in the eyes of Nazareth as they battled to cudgel him down. Fists, senseless fists, and nerveless feet, hammering at the nerve of rising sense. A choreograph of blows striking at discord, with the discord sustained till one great chord of resolution screamed and rang, drowning the hideous contrapuntal. The Son of Man rose amid them, thrusting aside the stuttering crotchets, crying, The stones you cast were all pearls, and he is the coined minim, now sings the tonic chord. Him I am, Ben Adam, the Son of Man. Listen to the undungeoned resolution. All pearls are ungendered from the long-burning excruciations of nacreous sanded agony. The fission of these stones has wielded absolute fusion from confusion, and yielded the aureolian breve that does not end, the unalloyed purity of the eternal pearl. But a woman's voice fife shrill through the rumbling ostinato of the multitude, a voice singing from pearls of long pain, a song of the dying womb, a mother crying, Do not become now an unhealed wound of the earth. Know me here as truly as I know you, the man unwound from a mother's child. And the man turned and looked upon Mariana. I am always the cause of the wound. When he spoke, the word seemed not from the man or the child living within him, but from distant air mingled with the sky winds. Lo, this is Mariana, Joseph's wedded wife, and you, Nazareth, and all citizens elsewhere, you alone are my mother. And a voice came bounding out of Nazareth. Then, to what kindred in Israel do you belong? The man said, to none in Israel alone. He faced east and pointed eastward, likewise to west, north, and to the south, turned in the compass of the world and said, there is my kindred, in Israel always, and beyond. My brothers dwell always in the compass of the world. And a second voice burst out from the multitude's wolverine heart. Who then is your father, boy of the world? The Son of Man looked upon the one-man, thousand-faced multitude, and his answer, a shining pearl from the dwelling of sound. God is my Father. Aye, a voice in his mind, that is a better thing, that God is your Father, and not you, God. Remember what I said unto David, I will be his father, and he shall be my son. And all bare him witness, and wondered at the gracious words which proceeded out of his mouth. And they said, is not this Joseph's son? And he said unto them, all pearls are alien in their oyster homeland. Verily I say unto you, no prophet is accepted in his own country. And when they heard these things, they were full of wrath and rose up. But he, passing through the midst of them, went his way. Passacaglia XIV. Eclipses of the sun were God's spell omens in that age. Nazareth did not understand why, when the Son of Man had gone away, the light of day was darker. Gulls cry in the white air of cliffs as the running sea grates under their rock homes. Behind him, the man heard strains reminiscent of that famous Zion wall. Women haunt to rend their sorrows when decease scars their kindred. And let them take up bewailing for us, that our eyes may run down with tears and our eyelids gush out with waters. Jerusalem beckons from the south, its citizens seething beneath the armed gaze of Rome. Listen, isles, moving northeast at dusk to Capharnaum, the Son of Man hears lontano sospirando, as from a distance sighing, Thalassant, Tess Galileas, the Sea of Galileas, sees the lights shining in the gentle water, and now, along the sounding shore, Bispigliando, gentle tremolos of men's voices across the dark water, from boats and fishing folk, returning happy at the end of the long day at sea. He heard these twilight homecomings, then a laugh, cantering west over the water, and longings wept in his desolate mind, for he knew that love was the solitary landmark of his life's roadway, and he loved the sound of that calling home on the fascinating air of the night, and cried in the tossed waters of his mind, gazing down his home-bereft road, chained to the desolate fact that he was alone. Q. Book of Quintessence. The man cried, I am isled from all companions. No hearth is home in Galileas, and none here inclined to welcome me. And the pearl once more is shuttered in this desolation. Constant on the far horizon it would abide, and when at last I stumbled to the world's edge, led me on further, to further islands and higher hills beyond. But here are no horizon, no pearl. Here, fundamental are the elements, air and earth, fire and water, and to these discordant four add the harmony of love, to coin the perfect fifth, quintessentia, the absolute quintessence. But what is love without a pearl to be its ultimate eidolon? The deep song of darkness rose, long in constant drone through the hours, and the Son of Man, lying wide-eyed below the roseate strata of a rock wall, heard the turning of the world, while far-off regions awoke and roared day long, thundering and alive, voices and machines, altogether a sound which does not end, modulates from night to day in every realm, in all cities, in all lands, oh, and all joys, as the beloved star moves in the eye of God. And lo, morning blinds the wide open eye of night, A serpent, stirring, unfurls its evolution, unwinding from the hot frost of sleep, thaws the clear eyes of its scales, 100 countenances, scanning the ladder of the fields. Capharnaum woke up, a dying man, wakened to put death to sleep. And the man saw one walking down the sandway to where his seashell lay tethered in the haven, a fisherman whose name he did not know. This is the fame after death, when we follow a solitary man walking, knowing he is the essential stand-in for the million men who died far from the city of names and walked unknown along the seafront, unremarked by passing crowds, who themselves, though, shall walk on the front of the sea and earn oblivion after death. It is a happier thing, I know, not to dwell in the city of names or feel a need for uncommon renown. And for me, I know I had rather be Marlowe, a man who, walking without a name, found no city to dwell in, and love better to stand in for the million men, and for them earning after death an afterlife of lasting fame. And he followed the man along the seafront. Whist shone in his great eyes. His eyelids blinked away an inkling of water drops, and when they opened, saw two brothers walking away on the sand before him, till, mindful of his gaze, they turned, Andrew and Simon, sons of Jonas, and he scanned the shining horizons of their kindred eyes, and saw the fire and the water in them. And Simon said, "Hail, friend, are you one in an alien ocean seeking for pearls?" "Yes, friend, I seek pearls in a mountain of ashes, dwindling as a pyre of sand in the wind." "And you seek also for pearls?" "No, friend, fishermen seek for oysters, not pearls." The Son of Man said, "I too am a fisherman. God made me a fisher of children, and I am an unhappy God. Once caught a beautiful fish I could not kill, and lost him in the dark water. Times I have cast my line to reap only a second glimpse, and saw his scales were turning to blend better with the hideous deep. But that's neither here nor there." And Simon answered, "Be with us then, Andrew and Simon, sons of Jonas. Let's make a living with living shells." "Well, Simon, I will, but be you rather with me. Now I am seeking the quintessence of a thing so rare I have to do more than subsist, though in no way do I condemn the wholesome lives you lead. Beyond islands and seas, beyond the long lands. Come, I will make you fishers of men. The brothers heard him, could not resist those eyes, the seas that shone in them, tugging at their stirred anchors. Ah, well, till they came away, a youth in the hall of his kindred, lust longs for rings. Then, ah, well, an airborne song enchants, and plucking away the ring lust, he seeks the wielder of the harp, and finding, listens and loves the sound. So the brothers walked with him, and no man beheld them dwindling along the long shoreline. Andrew remembered, I am the voice, the creed of cleansing, of one crying, of pearl-bereft souls in the wilderness. Andrew, I was of Yochanan's disciples, he believing his life work done when last he came away from Jordan, lived virtually voiceless, and so died. The Son of Man, I heard the news in Jordan's dirge. Though he was my lifelong friend, his hands let fall the water drops, as if upon the brow of a stranger. Andrew, I was with him. That day your name flickered in the letters of his eyes, and he heard in the dove-blessed air the pure quintessence of the chord. And you gone, he could not repeat the name, but broke into a thundering cry, the chord has resolved, and always I knew the tonic of the chord was a pearl. Then Herod took him away. The man, Yatatai, I am the pearl he found. Oh, I am the lamb of the shepherd's song. Yatatai. Now I grieve to know that nomen est omen. Ah, friend, now know it is I must shoulder the hands of his name. The water of his anointing harrows my soul together with the long lands of God. It is all mine. I cannot rescind the burden, even though it will be my catastrophe. I am the pearl, but not his, nor mine. I have not yet found mine, but shall. I have to gather innumerable pearls, though I may drown in the ferns of the deep. A frown surfed through Andrew's face. Are you from Nazareth? I am, but I came away. None there but wolves and stones. I am not King David of the kingdom calmed. I am a son of man, and said that. But they branded me one of those false prophets so often come in damned simulation and claim to be the promised king. So I come to Capharnaum for the calm beneath its magnanimous, far-famed oaks. he paused. For a duo began amidst the trees, a bourdon cantando sounding through the groves, and lingering in the air upon the shining water, mingled with a voice juvenescent. A schooner, 40 days on the sea road, drives bravely on, its sails billowing against the forestays. Till then a gull cries from beyond the waves, and the ship knows it nears a promised land. The sons of Zebedee were singing in the woodland. Oh, my bird, I hear you sing into the windows of my delight. Oh, my bird, let me become your garden. Let me wing my way from the windows and dream under the branches of the trees. Oh, my bird, that I may hear you forever. Oh, come in, my bird, come into the windows of my delight and stay there. Wing your way in, my bird, from the garden of singing trees, and sound in the branches of my mind, and stay there. Do not say you are not my bird. I cannot cry farewell. I can only say, come in, or let me become your garden. Oh, my love, my bird, forever whom I hear in my dreams, at the window of my delight, under the branches of the trees. And a man came striding from the trees, bronze and blessed in limb. They saw him hero forth into the open air, his teeth shining white in the sun, singing his way down to the sandy shore. But the Son of Man did not know him, though in that countenance he saw lights fine and infinite that echoed in his heart waves. Fragments of sound fought for a chord, but it did not come to combine with the song which winged away from his smile and turned into invisible birds. And the Son of Man said, come then, you who coin songs in the morning, and coin them for me. I have found the garden kingdom of pearls to sing in. Coin songs, friend, and let them be the morning of my kingdom. And one sang, the other nearing, a younger voice amid the trees. Oh, my bird! And the first comer said, I am James, and will coin your kingdom with song. My brother also, who follows, hear him, his song cometh before him. O my bird, let me become your garden. Single it sounded from the trees, and the Son of Man knew it well, and the long dormant love yen sprang up through his soul's core. Let me come from the windows and dream under the branches of the trees, till all his being was kindled with joy. Out from that echoing grove gazelled a youth, the ambient light that fled from his shining eyes, brightened the more by the winged soul within him. O my bird, that I may hear you forever. Song blew from his tender lips, glistened down, adorned that fair face. It was, O my bird, none other than the one beloved. Come in, O my bird, come into the windows of my delight, and stay there. No more a boy in limb, though ever in soul, happy when the child does not die, but liveth on in the man, and in the man's mind. O my love, my bird, whom I hear forever in my dreams. And Johannan looked into his eyes, and saw pain dying and singing with joy. And the Son of Man looked into his eyes, and saw scorn smiling and dancing away. And together they heard the fragments join, and listened to the unison of souls. And the man said, "Sing on, my bird." And turning to his friends, he said, "He and I have witnessed no man's land, the bewildering greenhorn hinterland between the wilderness and the crying sea. There was a time, Johannan, a time I would have grieved at your prime of days, but here is no fall, where all fall in rising. Here is the mint quintessence of the child. The child is father of the man. While in unknown fields you smiled and cast off the chrysalis of the child, I, wilderness, saw the grinning skull of fiend. Together, and yet not in the same hour, we found wisdom and became sons of men. Johannan, if you then became a son of man, what were you before that? The man, I was God, believed that. But now, a son of man, unadorned. Johannan, we are all children, fathers of the men we become. James, we are 5. Come here together. Simon, 5. The quintessence of fellowship. Johannan, Jonas, one graced by God, the bird airborne, the element of air. James, Jacobus, one who follows God, named Israel the land, the element of earth. Andrew, Andreas, man of God, given courage, the burning spirit of resolve, the element of fire. Simon, Shimon, he who has heard God's voice in the sea's incessant bounty, the element of water. The 4 elements in companion to which we have one destined to become the fifth essence, the shining emblem, the celestial pearl, Jesus, one who rescues, the deliverer, he who will bring salvation, the fifth element, Quintessence. The Son of Man said, air, earth, fire, and water. And I say unto you, the fifth element is love. Passacaglia XV. In the beginning, it seemed that the whole heaven of my song was hung with spheres, shining afloat in the blue air, free as pearls, and each like the clinking chimes of an xylophone, sounded clarion clear over the sea's drone. Let it be so. But now the frowning fury of the theme has fused those dangling orbs in the sky into a single requiem of light and sound, rising rampant over the Passacaglia waves. But it is far from harmony. The final chord has not yet resolved, and time, and this is the spinning core of a dervish, still a distance from the end. Tattoos of drums in the towns, soldiers of Latin brand treading the bright-eyed streets, whose laughter dies the instant the devilled flags are struck blind by the iron-shod hooves of Rome. Sounds of mechanical, numbered footfalls dying away into the anguished land beyond. So does the sound of heroic combat fade from the regions of exulting song. And so the renowned heroes of battle hie to the far fields, and now only the echoes of swords on shields remind the world of the waning grandeur in the realms of song and living men. Those days in Capernaum, not far from the thundering times when heroes lived. The Son of Man, in that fellowship of five, now crewed a new ship to sail the seas in, and barnacled grief foundered in the waves. But when wounds are healed, it is time to be wounded anew, and penthos agnostos abides. He is despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. And fire-hearted Andrew spat red-hot clinkers of anger out at the icon of Rome. Damn them who sprawl our realm with the clanking engines of siege, whose wheels ungear our heroes. Rivet-scarred Rome with its whining tackle screws steel-taut ropes and swaying cranes, taints the pure air of the world with reeking slag from the friction of snarling bronze. The Son of Man said, not even we here, at peace, on this oak-blessed shore of Galilee, are free from the crass depredations of Rome. Nevertheless, though Rome strives to ungang the world creed that holds men together in one flock, they are mere sheep. All we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned every one to his own way, and the Lord hath laid on him the iniquity of us all. So Rome, mindless science without heart, wields weapons on the world's warpaths. All things wielded on earth lose dominance. Der Mensch tracht und Gott lacht. Seek no roses beyond Moses. Man proposes, God disposes. And as it is written in the hand of Virgil, it is Rome, not God, that shall fall. Ama viramque, cum gemitu fugit indignata sub umbras. Arms and the man are not of one clan, but both, as dangers grow, will, like stones, with deep groans, flee, wounded to the shades below. It's a wrestling match between man and machine, but though we see him with his fists smoking, let's not curse the man. They knew him divine, but not how. He made their minds chuckle, who in the past, bewildered, had hugged the blue songs of exile. They went in to the city, to Zebedee's home, as dayfall brewed in the earth's cauldron, and the vapor that rose was night. Darkness reared up out of its catacomb and hovered in the rooms like a vast bird. But the light of the sun of man's eyes was enough to light up cities that are blacked out when the war god drones through the clouds, and they have to hide from his night birds till morning clamours over the hills to find them clinging face down to the soil of their devastation. And they asked him to live there forever, but he said, my home is the land and hills, sea dwellings and the origins of streams. These my house, if I need one. My roof, the stars. I am called into winding roadways. My walls are therefore the four winds, and may not be found. My home is a galleon of God, sails through the surf's hosannas, a sea-going dwelling of sound. Be welcome, my brothers. live in my home forever. And ceasing, his words hung in the air as mist over the gulf of a cataract when Alp snows gently avalanche because gods so near their skulls. But Simon, down to earth, frowned. How do we live, world wanderer? The Son of Man smiled, and Simon was, in that moment, fed to the brim of his soul. You have nets and a boat, Simon. Sail on the sea. Simon smiled, rose, and took up his nets. They heard him step in the silent street. Andrew followed, then James and Johanan last. Zebedee, the old father, smiled. Then, looking into the man's eyes, saw the whole world weeping, took him to a humble pallet, and bade him lie down and sleep. Willingly the man lay down, and sleep blessed him. Zebedee sat alone in his singing room till his sons came home and his sons' friends, their hearts brimming with souls and their hands empty. And they too drifted into the blessed ocean of sleep. R. Resurrection. Then born were days that echoed long in Galileus, in dancing fields and singing beasts tossed up their drooped heads and horns, so that the hills heard the voices sounding in their eyes, voices which streams rebounded through the nodding plains. Vagrants awakened, not to their weary sun weighing, but to adorn the roads, to listen to the songs that cantered out of cities, thronging as pilgrims who stamp the landways and greet their fellow men and tread together in their holy joy to shrines. Birds mourninged over the woods, larks hung the longer, caught out of the blue amid their falling rondels, when hearing then in the sky winds dearer sound that made them imagine themselves newborn gods, as golden cries upheld them under the sun's hold. Fishermen saw their boats transformed to isle lands, dearly desired when day fatigues line-hauling limbs, lands made to contain the yield of lifelong longings, but still which are only dreams, though dreams which in dream come true. Inklings of resurrection, like peopled mansions, gleamed golden on those lonely islands, promontories and bays, strung long and slowly purpling in the evening clouds. The Son of Man came singing from Capharnaum, "O my bird," and the lame walked to hang in his lasting wake the first and lasting fire. The blind opened their minds and soon beheld him on the long causeway. He came with open arms, but certain men withdrew, becoming stones for building a doomed, none such, inseparable from the tolling name of Rome. And with the Hebrews, old pride of cult clipped their souls' masts, then could bear no crisp, clean sails to lift them in wonder to new lands. Stulted scribes whispered to Sadducees, law gripped them by the throat, bound them to their temples' vacuous hoards, and made them wield their hands, not minds. Conspiring with the rabbis, Pharisees, and priests, they held fast to their scriptured citadels, deeming imminent their nation's ruin. Any tutor having a candidate for examination who, by reason of holding the Jewish faith, is forbidden to take papers on the Sabbath or other special days, not being Sundays, should inform by letter the chairman of the examiners for that examination as soon as possible after his appointment, and the clerk of the schools of the name of the candidate and particulars of his faith. A Sabbath in Israel. Corn beckoned the Son of Man from the road. He said, "Let's pluck the promise of bread." His friends stood back. Sabbath clutched them. The chairman of the examiners encased papers be not so set that the candidate is permitted to take all of them on the days prescribed, shall inform the tutor and also appoint a time earlier or, for preference, later than the prescribed time, at which the candidate must take each paper that he is forbidden to take at the prescribed time. But he gathered his friends around him, and together they plucked the ears of corn. A tussock of priests beheld them, murmuring, "They murder Sabbath." The tutor shall then secure from among the masters of arts of the university an invigilator or invigilators for whose appointment he shall obtain the approval of the vice-chancellor and proctors. The tutor shall further arrange for the internment under invigilation of the candidate for the whole of such period from the beginning of the time prescribed, or any paper which he is forbidden to take at the prescribed time until the end of the time appointed for him to take that paper, or, as the case may be, from the beginning of the appointed time until the end of the prescribed time. The fishers of men turned from the thirsty waves. The priests approached, law creaking on their brows. "You scorn the Sabbath, man. law rigors, that you fast today, not brandish sin by plucking corn upon the Sabbath. A loaf of bread, the walrus said, is what we chiefly need. Pepper and vinegar besides are very good indeed. Now, if you're ready, oysters dear, we can begin to feed. If the prescribed time for any paper, being a time set at which the candidate is not forbidden to take papers, falls within any such period when the tutor shall arrange for the candidate to take that paper at the prescribed time, in internment under invigilation. Sun crackled in the syllables of the man's reply. Every day's my Sabbath, priest. How can I ever eat if every day is holy? This day is as good as any day, a day of God, and God dwelleth on all days. That's the sound truth. You cannot rebuke me, for God shall bless me that I choose this day to go on living to bless God. Do not drape these cords of law where they cannot bind. They'll trip you up one day. When these arrangements are completed, the tutor shall submit them for approval first to the chairman of examiners and then to the vice-chancellor and proctors. The priest. Man, are you a king? This privilege is alien. The Son of Man. Consider the story of Ruth. She stood in tears amid the alien corn, and Boaz commanded his young men, let her glean even among the sheaves, and rebuke her not. But the priests droned on, and the man hammered down a spiked riposte and nailed it to his brain instead. The time has come, the walrus said, to talk of many things, of shoes and ships and sealing wax, of cabbages and kings. If, in the opinion of the chairman, any paper, as, for example, a practical paper in a scientific subject, is unsuitable to be taken, the chairman shall submit for approval other conditions to that end. The priests went murmuring away. The sons of men followed the Son of God, and gulls sang over their foaming wake. Some made his way theirs, to find their road by the guidance of his sails, fluttering white in the dark world, to feel his hands burning on their heads as comets nuzzle into clouds and banish anguish. And thousands knew of the coming of the Son of Man. O my son! And they kissed the prince his naked feet. Absalom blazed on the scarred earth of world. For this man cometh to wound pain with the singeing touch of his God-blessed hands. A man died this day. I think his name is Lazarus. The days had heard his whimpered throat. One morning the day listened and heard it not, till, faintly hanging on the wind, breath sounded, croaked in whispers, fast, till the lungs creaked. One more time the breath staggered and ceased. They heard it diminish, sighing into the hills. Hush, I am telling you a story. The valley of the shadow behind the hush. And from that Jordan in the dawn, the far-off wails of women echoed against the sky, till the Son of Man heard them, and so came there. There, two women unveiled tears that ran brine from sorrow's unshored ocean, for their brother had abandoned them to dwell on unknown shores beyond the brine. Dying, his own plagued breath had strangled him, till he swung on the gallows of his breast in skull-black wind on a white hill. His eyes had lost their sun's lustre and found a final vista that endured, fixed in that glen of decease. Then Martha, as soon as she heard that the Son of Man was coming, went and met him, and Mary sat still in the house. The man said to Martha, "Thy brother shall rise again." The man looked death in the eye, and neither blinked. But because those dead eyes could not, Jesus wept. Those were not tears. They were souls running from the eye of God. They were sons of man. And the Son said, "Our friend Lazarus sleeps, but I go that I might wake him out of sleep." His blood ward, the fastest word. Ruination shouted at his muscles, tore through the caverns of his heart, pounded in the galleries of his brain. The drill touches the nerve of the world's tooth, and the world cries. A white bird perched on the opening flesh. Green trees sprang up in the yielding soil. He heard a gasp gluten the air. A raven sucked at the still dying entrails, jawed deep into the cave beneath the ribs. The air reeked. The sun lurched and sickened, crying, "I hear rivers thousanding down. I go with them down the cascades." He opened his eyes. He was rising. The hunched wings of a kestrel bore him into the scanned skies, then sank and became a boat, red in the vine-grim ocean, and spun, drowning his mind. Lilith gnawed at his heart's foundations. He took up a rock and forced her down, thrusting the rock into the iron skull, till black blood rose, retched at the staring sky, and crawled like black worms wide into lands. But the Son of Man, denizen the vertical island, risen from the roots of the sea, and stood serene, saying, "The earth shall yield to me assent, and reverse his unchangeable laws, that I may act, but only if resolve has banished doubt utterly." He turned and beckoned his friends, and spoke to Martha and Mary also. "I am the resurrection and the life. He that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet he shall live. Believe with me. Breathe into my hands out of the living lungs of your minds. I am creating a world, and miracles shall walk upon its lands." Blinded, they sank to their knees, rising into their minds. Groan shivered out of the Son of Man. Sweat glittered on his brow. Grinning lights came close. Laugh chattered about his ears. He entered the grey forbidden doors. He strode in, singing the dirge of life. He hugged the quaking form of blue rock till it warmed and grew roseate in his clasp. The face of a young boy, when Solomon's scanned him head to foot. He, not ignorant of his beauty, ignorant of the pain. Eyes lowered under that loving gaze, rose. A memorable glance was born and was remembered. A long breath drew in clean winds of the sea, and one long returning sigh blew out the melting taint. And Lazarus smiled. In that smile shone the Son of Man, sank to his knees, his bloodless mind inert. "Father, Father, O my Son." And the Son saw the unknown mien of God close to his own, smiling down to the dusking lands of world. It did not fade, and the sun rose, and still it did not fade. He blessed the morning sun, hastened blindly away. His friends remaining watched him go. He stood under the branches of singing trees, fell kneeling and smiling to the sky, wept long. Taciturn he rose and came away. "I do not need to look back, Father. I do not need to know. I believe that is enough, my son." His rising beckoned his friends. Wordless they followed. Bethany hazed behind them. Lazarus rose. Far off he saw the sons of men moving northward. He does not turn back, Martha, to see perhaps a grinning ghost here on the doorstep. I meant to tell him where I went to when I died, but I forget. Mary, I forget, but I knew it. He has gone now. No man walks in the hills. The sunlit slopes dream as I dream, knowing the ruin, the resolve, and resurrection of the earth. And because bright joys shine amidst the sorrows, I will sustain my body as long as I may, only perhaps one day on this same threshold to be able to remember where I went to, where I shall go. Passacaglia XVI. Forward the love-wielder moved. Philadelphia on his right hand shone brimming, Zestasia on his left, as love re-echoed love. In hills, horns resound to hearten men in the field, and beacons in the night staunchen men for the day, till sound and light entwined go shooting far, weaving bonds between otherwise faltering souls. Rome. But forward the love-wielder moved. Rome on his left hand rumbled near, and far off as frown reflected frown. Waves of renown swept through the land. Sound waves announced their wayfare in the air, their music in the humming of the wires, and comets leave trails among the stars, herald their eon-long odysseys with fire. Cometh the bard of loving kindness, remembering stones, to his Nazareth home, his mind sieged with former onslaughts of rock, which then had nailed him to the earth. Or once again he would have soared and become a mannequin god. But now, unquestionably, a son of men, the Son of Man, came home. Now friends adorned his till then undiscipled wake, and buttressed his shaking heart with iron, which then could never yield, it seemed, or melt in cauldrons of ferocity in angry towns. Forced already in my 28th year to become a philosopher, and the Son of Man in Nazareth stirred cold embers. Where is my Father now? That I am his flesh I cannot deny. I have been his son and still am. But I am not of his mind. If I were, What now would I not rather be? But Simon's entreaty dampened the former fires, for townsmen approached the synagogue. Go in, good friend. Kick-start the priests out of their killjoy drone, who, by reason of holding the Jewish faith, cannot stop bleating their mutton-head cold. Go in and ramify the synagogue's authority. What is authority, Simon? Listen to its murmur now. But among all our joys, there was no one that more filled our hearts than the blessed continuance of preaching God's sacred word among us, which is that inestimable treasure which excelleth all the riches of the earth, because the fruit thereof extendeth itself. S. Book of Solitude. I alone, the Son of Man said, alone I do not conform. I say, this is my church, the open air. I need no stifling synagogue. Let those who wish to listen visit my temple. I will not haunt their law-clogged rooms where Moses clicks his tongue, wishing he had smashed his code for good instead of picking up the broken pieces. He should have engraved it on men's hearts to let it emerge in songs of spontaneous love, which no one here, however, ever hears now. I will speak here, where the sun shines on our heads. Do they hear me? If not hear even one, I would be happy, solitario with God. Murmur took wing as Hebrews muttered, suspicion whispering out of their eyes. Forgive them. They are the world's masters in song. And the sun heard them and listened. God smiled in his eyes, out of his eyes. Jehovah growled in their fists and berg hearts. But rumors of the magic in his hands urged them to listen to this God that smiled. And Jehovah, one finger featherweight, stood aside. Slowly the city unwound like a snail that, venturing to goggle with its horned eyes upon the world, slides and drags its minaret. And to the multitude that had gathered all about him where he stood in the open air, where the sun shone down, the Son of Man cried out, "You think I butter at the creed of Moses, but I'm not Rome. Rome dins abroad to hide its heart's decay with iron shields. I do not come to deny the wisdom of Moses. Do not reject the land's law. Yet telling you I am Moses wearing a crown of love. I know you cannot catch this kenning's kernel. I wear a crown of love, while he, giver of laws, wore a helmet carved from blocks of Sinai stone. The Son of Man smiled, but Moses glittered in his eye. One in the crowd cried, "Maestro, I see King David glitter in your eye. My name is Judas Iscariot. Let's go together." The Son of Man looked Judas in the eye, saw with Abel's eyes his brother Cain, and took Iscariot's hand. "Come, be the best of friends. I know you well by your name. Jehudas, a man of praise. Iscariot, a man of opposition. And if ye walk contrary to me, and will not hearken unto me, then will I also walk contrary to you, and ye shall perish among the heathen. Yet welcome, Judas. Kata Postion. His wheels stopped dead. An eye shone beyond Judas in the multitude. An eye at distance from his own, but nearer than his own heartbeat. "Madalena," he said. "Aye, it is Madalena's eye. I am mindful of the place, the hour. It was here in Nazareth. Nothing has died. The embers stir, stir still. Still she is here. No, God, take this away. You know that to shun inklings of divinity, I had to acknowledge I was born from the constructed dust of the earth. But let me now shun also the delusions of flesh. In the beginning, as a god, I charmed her with the magic beginnings of love. Risoluto, lento, destro, sinistro. But Behala Shibon, once more scatter the charm to smithereens. Not to be God, forced to be man, a man not to be God. God in the man cannot be a man. The Son of God cannot beget sons of man. In the wilderness, annihilation. Vanity of vanities, saith the preacher. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. But now, again, I am more than ever. Sirens, drawn to the thundering shore, and that warning bell clanging out the name. Pull down thy vanity, I say, pull down. Now, no beat on the door, no cry from the night. Now, no knocking, no shout from without. No Yochanan. He died. It suddenly comes, this wisdom, that we die. no hand of Yochanan upon my shoulder to restrain the bucking colt of my vanities, or to shove me on towards higher horizons. No, Yochanan, son of man, solitario, how to contend with Madalena in the crowd, emptied his iron veins of their forged ichor, and breathed vigor into his dead desire. Love reared its ugliest eyes, an extinct beast risen to wreak havoc again, fuming across the world. Blinded, the Son of Man stumbled away, solitario, away from Madalena in the crowd. And in the crowd, Johanan set eyes on Madalena, eyes shining with a longing to link a line to the light shining in hers. His young Mustang brain cried to the reeling sun. Prospatheo sprang up new in his smoking breast, but he fisted it down, though it thrived within, like the bud of a red rose, biding its first flowering. The Son of Man, alone in the streets, strove to bind down his unriveted heart. Madalena, in truth, I know now inhabits my veins, but I cannot permit it. But Johanan plunged into the multitude, dispersing, widened an area of earth. Johanan and Madalena, alone there, moving away, under an abandoned wall, turning, the Son of Man walking fast in other streets, his fists in anguish fastened at his sides, to look each other in the eyes for the first time. No man saw them under that sinking wall in the dusk. They came away singing a nocturne, amoroso, does not sound till love unbinds its tongue, then it flames. Burning pines when resin bursts from their wiry veins, whistle and sing in the heat, and went on flaming in their minds, and only the dying world witnessed the parting of the pure ways of the children they no longer were. Johanan looked for his friends and brother. The night birds were crying, and the man looked for his brothers and his friend. Together they found them and were together. But Johanan's mind bounded away, still rambling where those stones observed, under the maiden smile of the moon. 9 days, 9 waves broke on the shore. Still the Son of Man did not speak. Madalena paced in the empty hall of his thought. 9 times he opened the door, but she would not go. And high up, under the eaves of his skull, he heard a voice. My son, go on with thy business in meekness. So shalt thou be beloved of him that is approved. Shake off this mantle of the flesh. Where did it lead you erstwhile? It led me to God. And the Son of Man cried, Is it not a true love, this of mine? Dear God, what more do you seek in a man than that he love truly? The answer came grating down, I am God. The greater thou art, the more humble thyself, and thou shalt find favour before the Lord. And the man kicked his heart, and struck off the door with his love's boot, and fools galloped out of that hall's door, and pounded in the ends of his hands, battered at the windows of his eyes. The son opened his eyes. Johanan was standing before him. He said, Maestro, is it not a true love, this of mine? Which love, Pearl, my bird? Johanan said, Dear Maestro, what more do you seek in a man than that he love truly? The Maestro said, Nothing more. Then, Master, I shall go now, called by the horn call of clan, to rise and adorn this earth with children of my breed. Though fear not, they shall bless you. I have found, and she loveth me. Though I am young, we are called by that voice in Hebrew customs, blessed children therein born. So I go. So I am to go. Yet I do not. For she and I are forever with you in the avenues of mine. Then the groaning peace of the Son of Man creaked sliding, till in that silent air Johanan heard the cleaved bands of the man's heart snap one by one. Then muscle-bunched anger, twined with the tendons of agony, swept across that stricken brow. The eyes blacked out, cleared, flamed with darkness, a half-kindling smile striving for ascendancy over the fierce working of compressed lips, yet always failing. And the Son of God visibly shook from limb to limb. In a moment it rushed away. The face of the sea settled into calm, though shock still trembled under the swell. Johanan batter me down, or I shall crack from shin to shin, and my brain burst, flinging its broken wisdoms up and away. Young friend, I hate to yield your soul, has been mine too long at my will. I sprawl to grasp it, but it soars, is always the morning bird, I the dusk. O thou Eden found, I marvel at this miracle, freedom of will. He gathered his shattered mind, rocked on pinions of despair, chastened by the sway of drugged ire. It is easy to tear apart what was never joined, the song of us two together. I let you fly free, you are not mine, O bird of Avalon, not ever again be my eidolon. You are my friend, thy blessed. He took Johannan's hand and held it long, let go abruptly, turned, and did not dare to look on him. Had not yet hung together the names Johannan and Madalena. Had he done so then, he would have laughed away the sliding ceilings of his heart until its scarlet longings scattered in the wind and then died. But now he sculled from deep to deep, sounding for those lost or not ever yet found days, consoling suns, dawned and charmed the crying breakers heaved on his mind shore. That night his sleep was afflicted with oceans. He, an unmasted hull, tossed across sea tundra, till its prow tore down through the brittle fabric of the landlocked waves. He awoke under the howling trees. The moon yelped over the lunatic gale, clattered across his face a dilapidated brick wall. Then sleep bit him. The four winds claimed him theirs, racked on a black sea, yet he laughed at the tangled mockery of metaphors, as flames seared down from the sky and drew him roasting in, till his skull swelled and rising was in the abrupt clench of God's fist, crushed to a red-hot cinder that cooled instantly without a sylph of steam. He then, hanging alone, a smashed corpse in the frozen deep. The next day he fled from the city, once his home, solitario, to be alone, for they had hung for him the names together, Madalena and Johannan. This is my absolute solitude. In the beginning, inkling myself a god, I deigned to love an ever-transforming pearl, until that was God, and I was not. I have been carved unwillingly into a man, and now able to love as men do, all things have been taken away. My children, they go down now other roads, and now they go, they shall forget me. And how can friends understand this, so far from the isolation of my mind? And where is God? Pride in the man, proud, my love of God lay in the belief that I too was with him and of him. Pull down thy vanity, and now grieving that I find I'm utterly an ordinary man. The wisdom that filled me to the brim is a mirage, nothing more than the evaporescence of a vanishing cloud. There is not anything outside me that is to do with me, and nothing in anything outside me can be of avail. I am not, but I am. Now of no kindred, of no land, of no world, under no God, not to any man, not of what is, only what I myself am. No recompense enlightens my mind, an edifice with no interior world, without centre, lines and angles forever joining and parting, and all I can do is observe the inane mathematics of these misfired fretworks of friendship. In these times, when the mind wanders, when we are not able to determine the coherence of things to come, things done, of wisdom of things to do, I ask, what are we here for, when so much time is lost in absolute solitude? And when we have never seen God, why do we call him? Who could be the entity to delight us when the mind wanders? But he does not come. Is he afraid, as we are, of admitting there is neither a cure for the empty mind, nor solace for solitude? We have to lie down in the terrible silence, waiting for the birth from it. Who turns the tide? And how can we call him to do that when we see the darkness approaching? I have gone often to stand on the shore, trying to catch sight of the man whispers to the waves to turn and be going out, but still do the waves move and leave me alone on the sand. Great wilderness of these solitary times, who can I cry to when all are crying? I am again outside the world, and there is nothing outside the world other than solitario. From beginning to end, though aphrodisiasmos can human psychikos cannot ever merge into one shared noesis. From the Jan of Genesis to the eon of Revelation, in every iota of the unique legend each of us lived through, the mind is always on its own. I, utterly and irremediably alone.